Watch the video all the way through. I have really important things to share with you. I believe wave 2 is now done. Smaller waves, first subwave higher. Watch the video all the way through. Shortly after the stock market closed, the Commerce Secretary came out and said that there could be a compromise reached, a tariff compromise deal. And again, it's likely Bitcoin has bottomed last Friday, as I talked about, and got a higher low today for wave 2. We're going to get a big rally before the week ends on Bitcoin. This could be big. If this deal goes through on Wednesday, we could see the stock market bottom out, rally off the 200 period. We could see Bitcoin get that higher low off the 200 period where it tested today, and we could see the bottom being put in the stock market. I think and Bitcoin, that's very, very possible. Market is very, very oversold. There's a lot of fear. Bitcoin is at extreme fear. Okay, with the emotions right now. The fear greed index at extreme fear for crypto, extreme fear for the stock market, witnessing a bottom being carved out. I think Bitcoin's going to go make new highs. Got a lot of people now saying, oh, no, it's topped. I don't think it's topped. We're hit the upper channel line on the longer term channel. I think we're still going to reach it. You're getting the bottom that I called last Friday. That bottom is still holding. It was tested today and it held. This is likely going to rally the market here. Whether Trump says something about this during his address tonight to Congress, or if it's said tomorrow, as the Commerce Secretary is talking about, we'll see. We'll be watching to see if we see this give us a relief rally with the tariffs, a tariff relief rally, as I've been calling it, as we see, the tariffs paused or a deal struck, or what the Commerce Secretary is talking about, a reduction in the amount of tariffs. Could a deal be reached? We'll see what happens. It's likely going to give us a big rally on Wednesday tomorrow, and then we're going to have the White House Crypto Summit on Wednesday. We're going to have Jay Powell speaking on Friday. We're going to have that jobs report. So again, a lot for markets to digest. But again, I think you've got a higher low. I think you're now getting your wave 3 in our first subwave higher. I'll show you the count in a moment. Got the media out there doing their best to convince us we're going to have a trade war. Well, that's probably not going to be the case, because again, now you saw a pause with concessions made previously in early February. Now you're going to see some kind of deal reached, kind of compromise reached. Again, the media keeps telling us we're going to have this trade war. We don't have a trade war yet. Maybe we get one later, but we don't have one. But they're doing their best to try to convince us that we're going to have this trade war, and it's going to cause all this inflation. About this in my stock video. Again, it's absurd, because tariffs don't cause inflation. If tariffs cause inflation, why don't we have, hyperinflation in Canada, who has boatloads of tariffs on the U.S.? Why don't we have a bunch of inflation in the European Union? They have a bunch of tariffs on the U.S. Why? So to believe, those countries can put tariffs on, and it doesn't cause inflation, but the U.S. puts tariffs on, and that causes inflation. I mean, it is, you got to leave half your brain out of the thinking process to believe what these people are saying. And then tariffs in Europe and Canada, that's not causing a trade war. But the United States putting in tariffs, that's causing a trade war. People in the media are such pieces of work to believe the nonsense that these people say. I mean, you have got to just be one big Kool-Aid drinker and not have the ability to do critical thinking for yourself. I mean, that's what it comes down to. Absolutely incredible. Enough about tariffs. Probably going to get a tariff deal. It's probably going to give us a bottom and a rally. I still think there's going to be an inflation freak out later. The CPI is eventually going to tick back up. It's going to be eventually blamed on tariffs or tax cuts or something, and none of this stuff causes inflation. Watch Trump's speech tonight. See if he says anything about the crypto strategic reserve. See if he says anything about the White House crypto summit coming up. There's rumors that there's going to be some kind of tax treatment for crypto, whether reduction or removing taxes. I don't know. A lot of that stuff could just be rumors. Who knows? Watching to see if we get some kind of bottom. You're bottoming around the 200 period, as I said last Friday, with this doji, and now we get another bullish bottoming tail today surrounding, again, this VWAP support, which takes us back to the bottom, takes us back to that 49,000 area. And again, that's the VWAP support from that area, this blue line right here. So again, I think we're headed back up to VWAP resistance. I think Bitcoin's bottomed, and again, it's likely going to go up here, test the VWAP resistance and this horizontal resistance right here at the 100,000 area. The upper end of this resistance is 100,000 right there. I think that we can go up there, the downward trend line, end up back testing it, and again, eventually build momentum to clear 109,000. I think that's going to be the case. Again, extremely bullish on Friday, and again today with this bottoming tail, because the herd gets so bearish at the bottom, and they got so bullish at these tops over here. That's what the herd does. I call these days of these tops, the 20th and over here on December 17th, because we hit the major trend line of resistance in the weekly time frame. We hit two of them, one with the linear and the log scaling, and the herd was so bullish there, and I said, we're going down. Now I'm extremely bullish because the herd is very, very bearish. The herd gets bullish at tops and bearish at bottoms. So you want to do the opposite of whatever the herd says. Man, are they bearish, man? Likely witnessing a bottom, and wave 2 is now likely done with today's pullback. Going into the Wednesday session, we may test this low, but again, I think, as I've said, we bottomed out on Friday. I think we got the higher low today, and I think we're going to go and get a big, big rally. Be aware of this resistance directly overhead under the 100,000 area between about 94,500, 95,000, and the 100,000 area. That is major resistance there, just under 100,000 or so, be 99,500 in that area right there. That is major resistance, that range there, 94,500 or 95,000 area to the 99,500 to 100,000 area. We're going to get some kind of deal. It's looking that way. I've talked about this again in video after video. Again, we're likely going to see a pause or a reduction in the tariffs, or something that's going to give us a bottom, some kind of deal reach, which again the Commerce Secretary is hinting at right now. So again, been talking about over and over again, is likely going to be the case. So I think we've got a bottom here, and I think you're going to get this 5-leg push higher. I think you're going to go and end up taking out 100,000. You're going to come up here to probably the 135,000 area, just under it or just over it, somewhere in there, depending on whether we reach it quickly or whether we take our time. You're going to get a March rally on into probably April. The beginning of April, mid-April, late April, sometime you're probably going to see a peak, and you're going to be at higher levels. Favorable seasonality is here. I think, again, as I said last Friday, that we bottomed. Rally ever happened. My signals were warning of a bottom, and I showed you those signals. And again, I think that it's correct. Again, this is what I think is going on. The weekly chart. Again, I think we've finished wave 4. We're going to get the wave 5 here, and then we're going to see the bottom fall out of Bitcoin as it prices in the recession. And a recession is coming. We're now starting to see some evidence of that. Recession indicators flashed long before the election. Saying, again, tariffs before Doge slashing the government, the recession indicators are telling us a recession is going to happen. The only reason why we haven't had it is because we've spent $2 trillion before the election artificially propping up the economy. That's going to be removed, and we're going to have the recession. Likely going to go into about mid-2026, late 2026, probably the summer or the fall of 2026, and Bitcoin will be back down, taking out this low, but then it'll bottom, and that'll be the next bearish phase. We'll start a brand new bull market, likely going to go take out 15,000. People don't want to hear that that's even possible, but again, I am very bullish on Bitcoin here. We're going up here, but then I'm going to flip the trade. Again, I've been going to town on this opportunity right here. All kinds of opportunity right now. I bought the dip here as we tested the 200 period. Above it, I bought some. Dropped below it, got a bunch, and then a little bit more today with our pullback to the 200 period moving average, because I think this is going to happen. We may test the low today again, but I think that you now have a higher low. And again, we had the test of the 200 right there. I bought a little Bitcoin. Drop below the 200, had that big 7% sell off. The bullish divergences on the intraday charts, bought a lot of Bitcoin. This is a buying opportunity. You know, the people that are selling their Bitcoin here are going to end up having to buy it back when it goes higher. And they're going to realize, oh, it was a Bitcoin bottom. But the herd always, it's very bearish at the bottom and ends up selling out, very bullish at the top. So again, we've rallied up here. We rallied up. It was about 22%. I have it marked on my other chart. And then now we pull back. We got a higher low. We tested the 200 again. Another bottoming tail right here. And so, and again, it looks more like a hammer than a spinning top. It looks more like a hammer. This was a doji. It does look like a hammer. We just, you know, closed the session out a little bit ago, and here we are. So again, I think you're going to rally back up, clear this trend line, and then I think you'll end up back testing it. And then I think you're going to clear that resistance area here again, about 94,500 or the 95,000 area up into 99,500 to 100,000. That's resistance, and then I think we go to the next resistance level. But I think you're going to bottom right here, as I've been saying. And again, at that little divergence right here, I think you're going to confirm a higher low now. And again, I think the MACD is going to end up turning up, confirming again a higher low on the histogram. Listen carefully, we may pull back and test this low and test the 200 again, but I think this low, this higher low, and this low over here is likely going to hold. Again, quickly, the Elliott wave count right here in the daily time frame, I think we've had 3 complete here. And again, I think that we've had this complex correction move. And again, we're completing an ABC move here after a larger WXY that's completed the C and the Y and wave 4. I think you're going to get your wave 5, but then I think you're going to top. So I still think there's more time. I think that, again, we're in this very, very large intermediate wave 5 to finish primary wave 5, which is all of these waves 3, 4, and 5, all of it going all the way back to the bottom. You have these 5 minor waves that are developing here that I think we're now starting minor wave 5. See if the MACD can turn back up, and if it does, we need to get back into positive territory. But this is what I think is going on. Bitcoin right now, it's slightly lower, down 0.62% for the session starting off the Wednesday session. But we hit this trend line excluding the shadow right here. And again, this is a 2023 trend line. I told you we're still at risk of going down to it. If we take out that low, my guess is we bottomed, but still that risk. Again, I have the guts to tell you what I think, and I think that we have bottomed on Bitcoin. Talked about the bullish divergences here on the 60-minute chart, or on the 4-hour chart, and that's what's happened on the S&P 60-minute chart now. So I think it's it just followed Bitcoin down to the 200 period. The Nasdaq and S&P did. And if it rebounds, it's going to just be following Bitcoin's lead. Bitcoin came back to test those levels, got a higher low. I think you've got the wave 1, 2. I think you're going to get 3, 4, and 5. This could be a three-leg push higher if we start a leading diagonal. Really possible, and could even have overlap. But again, do we come up and break this trend line and then come back and back test it, or come up here and at least try to do so before the weekends? I think here tomorrow and the next day, Wednesday, Thursday, I think you're going to be coming up here trying to go higher. And again, to get above our 200 period, I think these divergences mark a bottom, as I talked about back at the time. Again, this is where the opportunity was. And again, about the top over here on Inauguration Day with the bearish diversions. Again, this is likely the bottom right here, in my opinion. I think we've got a 1, I think you've got a 2, and we'll see if we can rally further. But again, I think you've got a bottom. We can confirm a higher low on the RSI now, and we can confirm a higher low on the MACD. If it can get back in positive territory, we get a big rally, we'll be looking for a breakout. Again, this could take us up towards 100,000 or overthrow 100,000. Here, this scenario, I've got it more aggressive. It may not be as aggressive, but it could be. Okay, it's just speculation of where it might go. But here I have us overthrowing resistance and then back testing. I talked about previously going up to resistance and then pulling back. Can play out either way. But again, going to be looking to see if we clear the 200 and then eventually the 50 get back above the 200 here in the 4-hour time frame. We'll be watching all of that. Now, here's IBIT, the Bitcoin ETF. I told you, be watching. Which one do we go and do first? Do we go fill the gap down here where we gapped higher with Trump's announcement of the crypto strategic reserves? Or do we come back up here and fill this gap and then turn down? This gap was filled, okay, 47.91. Now we're likely coming back up to fill the gap at 53, test the trend line. We'll see if we can clear the trend line, get above the 200 here. Again, the 60-minute chart, very similar to the 4-hour chart of Bitcoin. The bullish divergences, again, I think you're going to try to come up here and eventually break out, and then we'll back test. Again, we could come up and just pull back before building momentum, but I think you've got a powerful move here, and I think you're going to get a wave 3 that's going to probably end up busting up through this downward trend line, in my opinion, and I think that is likely going to come week and possibly in the next couple of days here, possibly now. So again, what does Trump say anything in the his address to Congress about crypto? Does he say anything about the tariffs? Gives us a rally. We'll be watching. Eventually, I think we're going back up to new highs, and clear 100,000, and then go up and make new highs on Bitcoin above 109,000. And I think you'll see the IBIT ETF move to new highs. But again, great opportunities down here with the divergences that have formed. And again, now a higher low, counting our 200 period moving average. We're seeing momentum try to change right here. This is the 4-hour chart of Bitcoin. We're seeing some bullishness go on here. Saw some bearishness back over here. And let me just move this up so you can see. Got a nice bottoming signal over here. And again, we're now seeing the blue bars. We're now seeing some bullishness. Now, again, it may be choppy if we go back and test the lows, but you got a possible higher low now on Bitcoin. Okay, and again, we're going to be watching to see if we now make a move to clear this level. And if you do, then you're going to have a higher low right here, and then a higher high. And that's probably going to give you your big wave 3. It'll be a leading diagonal, so we could end up getting some overlap. We'll be watching if this is an actual 3 leg higher for our first wave up, and our pullback could be in a series of 3s. But again, reversal back over here in February, coming down, the reversal back up here, bottoming tail occurred in the daily time frame, giving us this reversal, and then the rally with the strategic reserves announced, and then in this pullback. So again, and let me just say this, a lot of people on the internet, and I talked about this in my last update, a lot of people, Peter Schiff and others, big crypto accounts, big followings, saying doing the biggest rug pull in the in the history of crypto. It's the big money that's selling into the rally. Trump made the announcement, and who sold into it? The big money, big players, and they pull back. And again, now we're getting the higher low, and then we're going to get the bigger move higher in all likelihood. Flip it out because we get this pullback. Nothing goes straight up. We had a 23% move here in a couple of days. And I talked about that, and I don't want to be misunderstood, but I was just pointing out that a lot of crypto people are blaming Trump. He was trying to pull something, made the announcement, and the big money sold into it. They've been doing. And again, now we're creating the bottom, and now we're going to see the accumulation happen. People flipping out over the pullback right here, the crypto community, big players, even Peter Schiff, who hates crypto, talking about a rug pull or whatever, and I was building upon that. I just think we've got wave 2 here. I think we're going higher. These people, crypto people, a lot of them, they get very, very emotional because Bitcoin has these big swings. But I think you've got a bottom here. Even if we pull back a little bit, I think that this low is probably going to hold. And this is now the support zone. You've got the low right here, and you've got the low right here. That makes up your support zone between 78,000 and this low 81,000 area, 82,000 area or so. 81,000 there. Bitcoin turned off of our trend lines. I think we're building momentum to get back above those trend lines that we turned off of right here with our linear scaling and with our log scaling. I've talked about that in my last video. Start seeing things turn back to bullish and getting like back above the ribbon here and seeing it flip back to bullish with momentum, and then eventually being able to clear the cloud, the upper boundary of the cloud up here, to be able to resume the advance. So again, things bearish here still as we're attempting to rebound. You got to flip the bars back to bullish. Got to get back to bullish on the bars and then flip the ribbon back to bullish. Tried to flip the momentum line with this previous bar here, couldn't do it. Try to do it. It's got to be by the close. Couldn't do it. Well, we got these bottoming signals, and again, while we sold off at the lows today, couldn't take out the cloud. Couldn't hold below the 200 period moving average, the black line right there, and the balance of power tried to turn negative, and it did not stay there with the Tuesday session. So again, you've got these bottoming signals, and again, confirming this bottom and then confirming the confirmation bar here. That's what this is confirming. And then you get the momentum here, and then the cloud flipped over here. So again, we're going to see if things start turning around. But I think you've got a higher low now with wave 2. I think you're about to get your wave 3, extended wave 3, which should take Bitcoin much higher if these lows can hold. If I am correct on that count, Elliott wave is speculation. All these people going, oh, the futures gap, it filled, and now we're going to go and climb. You know, people, the weekly bar just started on Monday, and they're talking about filling the futures gap, and oh, now it's all over now. That's it. And again, the weekly bar, talk to me by the end of the week about the weekly bar. You don't talk to me about it on a Monday. That's being a little naive, okay? And again, right here, we're seeing bearishness with Bitcoin. This is the daily chart right here. Again, got to flip it back to bullish. We'll be watching for that. Watching the Bitcoin futures to see if it responds to anything that Trump says during his speech here in just a little while. And by the time you're watching this, you'll have already had it. Or do we see any kind of response to a possible tariff compromise deal being announced on Wednesday? Commerce Secretary is suggesting that's going to be the case. Again, here, could we be confirming a higher low here with the 4-hour chart of Bitcoin futures and start seeing the momentum flip back to bullish and start getting back above the 200 period here, moving higher? This is taking out this level, going up here. That could take us above 100,000. And again, we can overthrow 100,000, break the trend line, and then backtest. Very, very possible you see that here in the not too distant future if we have now established a higher low. My guess is we have. And again, great opportunity today, great opportunity on Friday, great opportunity there. I think it was, what was it, Wednesday, that low there. Great opportunities all week long for long positions on Bitcoin are going to probably play out pretty nicely. Taking advantage of price hovering near that 200 period on Bitcoin because I think it's a good risk reward. I'm a trader. That is a low risk for me. That's a lower risk trade for this big sell-off with Bitcoin. Futures right ahead of Trump speaking are pretty much flat, but we are getting a green bar as we start the Wednesday session. So I think you're going to get green. I think you're going to get a rally. I think you're going to get a bullish reversal of conditions probably tomorrow or Thursday, but probably tomorrow, and get back above these levels, move back towards the 50, maybe overthrow it and move towards 100,000. Very, very quickly. We've got a higher low and a higher high just above the 200 here with Bitcoin futures, just below it, the 200 there with the Bitcoin price. So that's going to be it for me. Go watch, I'm going to watch Trump's address and see if he says anything about tariffs or crypto, tax cuts, and we'll be watching for all that and see the response for Bitcoin and for the stock market futures.